welcome to Promote Hope Podcast, Ep.7. Education is Essential. Today I have my special guest, Miss Marva Jones, with me. I just want to give a little bit of a backstory on how I met Miss Marva. I moved to Washington State and I got a job as a director. I have always worked with children birth to 5. 0 to 5 has always been my age group since I could start working. I have always been in a daycare. And Miss Marva, well, before we get into that, I started the job and I didn't really know what I was doing because I know education, I know what it's like to be a teacher, but how do I lead? And so I was put into this position and I was having some trouble and I prayed like, okay, God, can you just please send me help? And then I met help right here. Somebody who shares the passion and she listened to me when I was down and out. She gave me that oomph to keep going and she believed in me. And so she mentored me and I'm just honored to be sitting with her and interviewing her. She means so much to me because I was having a really hard time and I love education and I love teaching and I love what I do, but what do I do when I didn't know how to lead what I loved? So, Miss Marva, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Marva Jones, and I'm married to Claude Jones. I have 4 kids, and that's what defines me. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and I love the Lord. So, a little bit about me. I've been working with early child education for over 35 to 40 years. Started out when I was in school in 1976. I graduated, and then I began my work in early child education, working at an elementary school. And from there, I began to feel like this is a place that I think I can do really well in. So I started taking early childhood education classes, and then I continued my education until I left Cleveland, Ohio, and then I came to Washington State and did a little bit of traveling around. I was married to a military man, and so then I still was working in early childhood education, and then I realized, this is what I should be doing. Mm-hmm. And so from there, I stayed in the field. Even when people would say, is there money in that? Mm-hmm. It didn't bother me because I was doing something that I know that I was called to do. Mm-hmm. And because I know that God called me to do this, He would make a way for me to have a healthy and happy life.
Mm-hmm. So how long have you been working with birth to 5?
I started, like I said, in an elementary school in Cleveland, Ohio. And then when I finally left there after two years, I started working at a daycare center. And most of the kids were there was from infants all the way up to age 4.5. So I've pretty much been in that field for a really long time. But then when I came to my church, I learned that I was able to work with older kids. And so I love that too. Mm-hmm. So I always feel like kids are kids. And now I'm falling so much in love with infants. And that's a new change for me, infant to age 1. And I love that.
Well, what's your favorite age group?
My favorite age group is age 4. I like 4.
I haven't gotten to 4 yet with my kids, but I'm on the way.
Oh, amazing.
Amazing. So the episode title is called Early Education is Essential. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I wanted to have this conversation is because I don't think that people understand how important birth to 5 is in a child's life. And I'm hoping that this interview with you, this conversation with each other, we can really pull out those golden gems about early education. Mm-hmm. And we both passionate and nuts about it. Yeah. So, hopefully we give some good energy to you all who are listening. So what do you think? When I say early education, what comes to your mind?
What comes to my mind is the day you find out that you are pregnant with your baby. Because that's when it all starts. It starts when you're starting to carry that baby. You rub your stomach, you sing to your baby, you talk to your baby. You begin to interact with your baby even as soon as you find out you're pregnant. And then because you feed your baby is using all of their senses, and you could teach right then and there every sense that your child is using: taste and touch and smell, all 5 of the senses. And then you can start giving your child early education, because now you can keep every month, take them to the next level of early education.
So a lot of people think education is 1 + 1 = 2. Or a lot of people that I have talked to think when I say education, it means they know how to read. Like, we celebrate when our kids can sing their ABCs, and we celebrate when our kids can write a letter, which is excellent. That's the goal. That is the goal. However, let's depict that word education. How can you talk about education in a sense of early ed separate from just those
academic
ways?
Well, one thing I like to say, sometimes people think or believe or feel that education is if you're just smart and you have to have a teacher right in front of you. But I like to say that I've seen so many kids come from different educational backgrounds. I've seen kids come from different cultural backgrounds. And I learned that education is you as the mom and the dad. How you begin to sit down with your child, 101, just talking to your child and giving your child, I like to call them juicy words. So an infant, teaching them a new word that they've never heard before.
Give us a juicy word.
Oh, a juicy word for let's say yesterday. It's kind of funny because yesterday I had my 8-year-old grandson stay with me, and he spent the night, and he wanted to stay with his grandmother. And he wanted to turn on the television. He wanted to get on his cell phone, the computer, and I said, no, let's just have a conversation. And in my mind, I was aware that I was going to be educating him. So we picked a couple of topics, but this is really funny. I was sharing a story about his dad when I first met him, trying to make those connections. That's what education is about, making connection. So I was telling him when his dad came to live with me that his dad had encountered a mouse or a rat in his clothes from this old apartment. And of course, we had to wash his clothes. He couldn't bring them in. So Zion began to ask, well, how did the rat get in? Well, what did you do to the rat? Well, how did the rat die? So I thought to myself, I remember as a child coming from Cleveland, Ohio, we encountered mice sometimes in our home. And what I wanted Zion to know is, how did we catch those mice? So I told him about a mouse trap. Do you know what a mouse trap is? Always assess what the child knows. He had no idea what a mouse trap was. So I'm sure at some time in his life he's going to encounter one. But anyway, so I did take my cell phone out, and we went through the cell phone, and I showed him different types of mouse traps. And he said, that's a mouse trap. And what I wanted him to know, that he was learning even when he didn't know he was learning. That's the best learning. So today or tomorrow, we're going to go buy a mouse trap. But then I was teaching him reading skills, because I have to go to Ace Hardware to get one. Ace Hardware to pick up a mouse trap. But then he looked at the price. So now I'm teaching him math. I said, how much is it? And he said, $1.99. Very good. So we'll go buy a mouse trap. But I said, we probably won't get a mouse, because I don't think I have any. But what we could do, we can get a long stick and set the mouse trap. And then we could stick the long stick in it, and then you would see how it will pop, and then how it catches the mouse. And then he began to form more questions. Well, where does it hit his nose? Does he die? That was learning.
Not even realizing that he was learning, and yet it was just from a conversation.
Conversation with your child is early education.
So, and conversation is very important. And one of my questions to you was technology, because technology is a part of this world major. And I have nieces and nephews, and my children all use a tablet. They're all technology savvy. They need to know about technology, because that's what the world is going to. However, the conversation still needs to be had too. So now we're having to put more on a child. Do you think a child can handle all of what we're trying to put on them?
I'm writing a book about In the Mind of a Child because I really wanted to get out to parents that computers, cell phones, when you give it to them, they don't have any social and emotional connection. And in order to learn, you have to have some social and emotional connection to learning. And when the child has a cell phone, it's not really healthy for their brain. And so they spend long times and long periods learning themselves. But they need someone to have conversation, back to the conversations. They need someone to have conversation on what they are learning. Because you want to make sure that a child is learning positive and healthy things for them. And so I just feel like cell phones are not a bad thing. We need them for so many reasons, and they help us navigate our world today. But what we didn't tell our kids that once they get addicted, it's like any kind of addiction to drugs, addiction to other unhealthy things that we pick up, to food, etc. Well, what kids are doing, they're getting addicted, and it's difficult for them to deplug as a child. Think about what we go through as an adult. So that's the first thing my grandson said, can I get on your cell phone? No. Can I watch TV? Can I get on your computer? And I said no, because I really wanted him to be able to learn through our conversation. And also I want to say, kids also learn through play. We did a series with a lot of books in our program, and one of the books talked about kindergarten. Kindergarten, it was meant for play. It wasn't meant for children to be tested, children to who's the smartest in the class, children that have all these pressures on them and stress. We stress them out with, you got to learn your ABCs, you got to learn how to read really quick in kindergarten, when what they just now needs to be able to play through social, emotional, and started connecting with their peers. And maybe first grade is when we used to start reading in first grade, but now so much pressure on children to read that they're not happy learning how to read.
And, for my 3-year-old, he is tech savvy and it's unacceptable. It makes me feel some type of way that he knows how much he knows about technology. And I was taking my other kids to the doctor, and when I took him to the doctor, he was in there with my other children, and he was on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
And he was sitting on the phone so that I can do what I need to do with my other kids. And then when the doctor came in, he was like, that's a very dangerous tool for your child. And I said, wait, don't judge me. I felt judged immediately. So I was on the defense, like, he doesn't know. But then I asked him, I got out of myself and I asked him, why do you say this is dangerous? And he said, because their minds are not equipped to handle that right now. He told me to pay attention to when Jeremiah is watching TV. Pay attention to, it says Y7, PG, G. He says pay attention to that because underneath G, it will say mild humor and slight violence. Absolutely. It tells you right before you watch what the child is going to watch. So the other day, Jeremiah was watching Power Rangers, and it said for 7. So I said, hey, Hap, can you go see if that's okay for him to be watching? And Hap was like, I think it's all right. It's just a show for boys. He was raised on that. But it says for age 7 for a reason. Because a 3-year-old can't separate play and violence right now. So I had a situation happen where Jeremiah ran in front of a car. And the first thing that came to my mind was what the doctor said, that the phone is dangerous. Because in his mind, he can be a superhero. In his mind, he's untouchable. In his mind, I can run in front of a car. I'm not teaching him that when you run in front of a car, it's unsafe, you can get hit. He's learning from TV that when I run in front of a car, I'm superpowers and I could crush the car. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so we don't really understand how deep it runs until something happens, and then we want to be on the defense. But a lot of times we use the tablet and we use the TV because we don't want to take that time.
Well, let me say this. This is what I do with kids. It's so funny. When they're on a cell phone or a tablet, or even watching TV for long periods of time, what happens to their brain is just constantly moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you say, Jeremiah, go upstairs and get your blue tennis shoes. He can't connect that
Yeah.
because his brain is racing so fast. He's not really listening intentionally to what you're asking him to do.
Yeah.
You can do this with your own children. Give them 1 step, 2 step, or 3 steps direction. They cannot follow it. If they're on the cell phone for long periods of time constantly, because cell phones has become our babysitters. We even do it as adults. Adults, we're addicted, and so the child watches us all day on our cell phone.
Yeah.
So then they think, oh, this is our normal reality.
Yeah.
And then they often drop it, break it. You have to go get it fixed again. However, like I said, I want you to know that cell phones are not horrible, but for a child to have a cell phone, or an infant, a 1-year-old, which now they can swipe their finger because they watched you for 7-8 hours swiping your finger, is not healthy for them. We have to go back to making sure that as a parent, you teach your child safety habits. You teach your child, giving them directions. You teach your child how to care for others and be respectful. Cell phones don't have emotions. They don't teach that. That's why you see your child, you yelling and screaming and getting upset at them, because have you really sat down with them and had dinner with them?
And actually taught him the skills that you want them to.
You have to teach the skills. They don't just acquire that. It comes through you taking the time to say, Jeremiah, I would like for you to sit down and we're going to play a game. And we don't even do games anymore. That's obsolete. Games are very important because it teaches kids how to take turns. It teaches kids how to develop their listening skills. And it teaches them how to follow direction. Games have to have direction. So we don't do that. We substitute that with the cell phones. And then when a child's ready to go to bed, they can't sleep because their brain, can I have your cell phone, Mom? And then if you don't give it to them, they're upset with you. Why? Because this has been the culture of our new world. But you don't have to buy into that. You want a smart kid? Engage. Engage with your child and talk to your child.
Well said. So when Jeremiah went to school with his friends, it's a preschool classroom. Now he wants to wrestle a lot. And I know it's connected to what he's watching. And another thing that came about was he's now saying at night he's scared in his room.
Yes.
I know it's because of what he's watching.
Absolutely.
And even though he gets the tablet or the phone for a minimal, it's still too much.
Still too much.
It's still a dangerous tool. So I know it's hard because we need that time. We need to be, we want to clean the house, or we want to get whatever we want. We have our agenda, but birth to 5 is so important for their brain development.
It is, and what they're becoming is entitled to your phone. So when you say you were cleaning the house, have Jeremiah to be a part of cleaning the house. Kids today have zero skills in just picking up a piece of paper if they see it on the floor. Before you start your cleaning, have Jeremiah to do a job. I'm not asking him to clean for 5 hours. No way. What I'm asking you is to give him early education by teaching him it's important to pick up your toys, because someday he's going to go into the working world and he would have to be able to work side by side with others. And I know when someone doesn't have those skills, it can be frustrating. However, but if you teach your child those skills when they're really little, then as they grow, they won't feel like this is foreign to me to have to pick up my own clothes or to pick up a piece of paper that somebody else dropped.
And my contribution to the world is to give you all good humans.
Absolutely.
To give you all good people. And I believe that starts now.
It starts when
it doesn't start when they're an adult and then I say, oh, this is how you handle that situation. All situations I can be teaching them how to handle as a child. Problem solving as a child.
Problem solving. Problem solving is so vital to a child at a very young age. Getting them the time to think about how can I make a decision, the best decision, and then allowing a child to think about it. Something so simple. Give them 2 choices. Do you want to wear your brown shoes today? Or do you want to wear your green shoes today? Rather than say, I'm going to make you wear your brown shoes. Well, he's not having opportunities to make decisions and choices. So give him choices, but choices that you can live with. You don't want your child in the summertime, in the wintertime saying, I want to wear my short shorts or my swimming trunks. Because as a parent, you have more knowledge to understand that that's not a healthy decision. So make sure you're allowing your child to use those acquired thinking skills so they can think for themselves, and it make the best learners too.
Because this morning I told Jordan is he's getting extra help with his speech.
Okay.
And one thing she told me was give him choices. Well, we know that.
Okay.
So this morning I tried it with him. I said, do you want to wear this shirt or this shirt? And when he picked this shirt and I said, good choice, and put it on him, oh, that made his whole day. That made his whole day. He was standing, he was looking at it, he was like, I look good.
Yes.
And he's only 1 year old.
1 year old. Kids
And
are
he
more
was
smarter
able to-
today.
yeah.
They're more wiser, so you have to really...
He was able to receive that.
Yes.
And I don't think that we know how much a kid can receive.
Yeah, because a cell phone doesn't give them self-esteem. A parent gives a child self-esteem.
Wow,
Their
that's deep.
community gives them self-esteem. Their home environment gives them self-esteem. So I'm seeing a lot of 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, even all the way up to age 12, don't have good self-image because the cell phone doesn't teach that. So that comes from early education. We're talking about early education. And that's educating your child to feel good about them, picking the shirt that they like the best.
And it was an amazing experience for Jordan. What's another way that we can share with people who are at home with their children all day? You know, they're stay-at-home parents, and early education still matters. Early education is still a factor. So how can we incorporate early education for the parents that stay home?
Oh, and if you are staying home today and you can stay home today, I applaud you, because being with your child is the most important thing. You are your child's first teacher.
First teacher.
And so if you can do that, that's awesome, because there's so many things you can do now. Pinterest, a lot of people can go on Pinterest if you don't have ideas. Some people have a hard time thinking of creative ideas on how to help your child learn. But that's when a cell phone becomes very useful for you, is to go in there and find some really great activities. For an example, and if you can't afford to go out and buy those beautiful toys that they, again, is all about pushing a button and a brain is racing. I saw a teacher today do the most beautiful activity. She took a piece of paper, probably about a 9 by 12, and she drew some zigzags and some up and down straight lines, and she did about 4 of them. And then she did like a little map where the child had to take just a bottle top and put it on top of that paper, and the child had to follow those lines. Now, what that was doing to the child was opening up his brain cells, helping him to think about, wow, I'm going to be able to learn even more, because the more he did it, the more he wanted to do it. And what he was doing was slowing down his brain from moving so fast that he was able to continue that activity for long periods of time. No cell phone, no computer. Those are the best kind of activities that you can do. It didn't cost her anything but a piece of paper and a bottle top from a water jug. Or you can use anything, and he did that several times. And that's something that I had not seen, and the child felt happy, and it calmed his body, and he was able to relax. And you know, when we relax, we can think better than when we're nervous and stressed.
And would you say painting? This one lady shared with me, she lets her daughter take a jar of water, a bucket of water, and paint the fence with water.
Of course, just water and a paintbrush. That will cost you $1 at
$1.
One of your stores, and they're not hurting anything. I had a teacher, I just left one of my programs, and this teacher works with 2-year-olds. And she didn't want to use dirt because they're still putting things in their mouth. She didn't want to use water because it gets everywhere. Some parents, some teachers, they're not comfortable with messy items. But you know what she came up with to put in her water table? Popsicle sticks. I said, yes, This week we're gonna put tons of popsicle sticks in there, maybe with just a teeny bit of water, and then we got little buckets that the kids can pick up. Fine motor skills, they can pick it up, put it into the bucket, they can pour them out. Those things are really good for brain development. And when a 1-year-old can pull a toy or push a toy, those are the things that we should be giving our kids. And I'm not against toys that you can push the button and it says red. But the best activity is when you can pull out objects out of a box and say, what color is this? And a child would say red, because he can think better in his brain when he can just slow it down a little bit. So we're going to be putting popsicle sticks in her water table, and I'll let you know how all that works out.
And we did some potting. We did some potting with plants, measuring,
Oh, yes.
cooking, cleaning, like you told me earlier. Let them clean with you. If you just spray water on the table and let them clean, they will really enjoy that. The other day, I needed my money to be in my piggy bank.
Okay.
And I had a huge jar of coins, but I wanted it in a specific nice piggy bank. And Jeremiah stayed there until every coin was in that piggy bank.
Absolutely.
He did not give up, and he sat there and did that fine motor. And I just told him, can you help me? I left, and I came back, and he was still going. So I left him to it, and he stayed there and did and one by one too. He didn't put a whole bunch.
Absolutely.
He did one by one.
Problem solving.
Put all that in there. We had fun in the tub, the bathtub. There can be learning.
Great. Well, he was completing a task, and that's what we want our kids to do. He completed the task without supervision.
And that was awesome. I've been getting onto him because he's been trying to make the baby's bottle. Okay. And he's been trying to come downstairs and pour his own drink. Okay. But you taught me that let the child teach you. So he's showing me that he's ready for something else. What he's past the point of, okay, mommy's doing it. Now he's ready to start being independent. And because I'm so busy, I don't have time to nurture that. But it helped me to realize, wait, stop what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Go buy a couple things that he can learn how to pour, because he's at that level. He's ready to pour his own stuff, and then his other siblings are watching.
Absolutely. He's their teacher.
But I'm at home. And so I'm thinking, I'm so busy. When you're at home, you don't think at home is a classroom, but
it is your
classroom. So much stuff at home.
Well, I was just thinking about when you were talking is that what you can do the night before is plan and prepare. A little lesson plan for all three of your children.
That's really cool.
Because if you plan, just like a teacher has to sit down and plan what is she's going to do with her children in the classroom, you plan and prepare. What am I going to do with all three of my kids so that I can be their teacher?
Wow.
Something so simple as picking up popsicle sticks. Something as simple as we're going to go out and do a science activity or a social study activity by going outside and looking at rocks.
I'm going to try that.
Detail. Just 1 or 2 activities throughout the day, and I guarantee you, your child will appreciate it. Wow. And then when you lay down, you will appreciate it.
Yeah, because I'm feeling myself winging it.
Winging it, yeah.
You know, not having a plan, and then things get chaotic, and then I'm trying to de-escalate what's already escalated. What if I had a plan, which I don't do, which I'm going to try.
A little mini lesson plan.
So the next question that I wanted to ask you is, say a new mom comes into a town and she's looking for a center. Okay. What are some qualities of a excellent center? Because I know some of them, even me, when I had my first baby, especially my first baby, it was hard for me to put my child in a daycare center. And I worked there. Right. I was always in the classroom, wanted to know, because we have these fears, what's on social media. We hear a lot of talk about, oh, this child got hurt. We weren't there to hurt when they got hurt. And there's scratches and bumps, and we hear all the horror stories. So can you give us some information as to when we are looking for a center or we're looking to put our baby, how can we find a good fit for us?
Well, I was a mom too, and I didn't start working until my oldest daughter was going to Head Start. She had to be 4 years old. So I had those same concerns, fears. wondering, are they going to do a great job with my child? However, I really could try to connect with the teacher. Having a teacher to do an all about me poster to give you a little bit of information about themselves so you can feel comfortable. Ask them what's their learning style. How would you be teaching my child? You have the right to spend time with that teacher before you put your child into that center.
So you're saying when I go to take my child to a daycare center, say I want to meet the teacher.
The teacher, I want to meet the classroom. If it's overwhelmed, clutter, if you know your child, some kids can have sensory overload. So if that classroom has so many items, everything is everywhere, is disorganized, your child's not going to do as well. So look for those kind of signs. Is the classroom organized? Is it well defined? Is the teacher willing to allow me to have conversations with her? Not right in the middle of class, because remember, they're teaching 10 to 12 other children, but making that time for me. Making sure that the nutrition component is wonderful, because we want to make sure that the kids are eating healthy as well. Making sure that the teacher have open-ended questions that they can ask my child, so my child can learn. And then if you feel comfortable with that daycare, then by all means, don't feel guilty, because parents have to work today. Put your child into the daycare, but also you should be able to pop up when you like to as well.
And I'm learning that it's great for me and my husband to have a relationship with our kids, but it's also great for my kids to have a relationship with other people.
Absolutely.
Let people love my kids. That was hard for me at the beginning, but letting people love my kids. I love now to see people reading to Jada.
Oh, yeah.
People loving my kids is something that I was nervous about, but when I kind of let it go and let myself like relax a little bit, now I love when people love my kids.
Absolutely.
Because it's awesome. And so when they are coming into a center, would you say some centers will work for you and some will not?
Right.
Okay.
Because it depends on the center, and it also depends on how long they've been in existence. It is a lot of major factor. I write in my book, I think I have about 10 questions you can ask the childcare before you put your child in the childcare center. And like I said, one is the teacher, one is the person in charge. What's their philosophy? Everybody should have a philosophy. What's their handbook looks like? Also, what are the other people doing? Are they sitting around talking about things they shouldn't be talking about? It should be a professional place. It should be clean. How do they sanitize their toys? Because most likely, if your child is little, your child's going to put toys in their mouth. Do you sanitize your toys? There's so many major factors that you can find out if it's a quality child care center.
Okay. So now on the other side, say I found the child care center that I love. How can I, as the parent, support the teacher? Because the teachers matter. We get run down. We tired. I've been a teacher. And I've been a teacher in 1-year-old classroom, 2-year-old classrooms. Now we are having a hard time with our 1-1-year-old.
Of course.
And now in the classroom, there's 14.
Absolutely.
Or 7. So how can us parents support educators?
Okay. I believe in this, and we've done this at our Embassy Education Center. I believe that when there's every year a teacher's appreciation. This year, I made a note of all the things our teachers liked, and I really encouraged the parents to do something for the teacher. It didn't have to be a major gift that costs a certain amount of money. It could just be having your child make a card. And again, if some parents said, well, I don't have supplies at home, I supply them. Because I wanted my teachers to know that they matter. And I have to say this year was really one of the best years I've ever done teacher appreciation, because I prepared the parents to be able to know what teachers liked or loved or needed. And so this year, I'll continue to do it. But not only that, I try to encourage the teachers, the parents, to go to talk to their teacher. Just get to understand and know their teachers. And I think that's so important, because you too are invested in this child's life for maybe 6 months to a year, or however long she would have that child. Most teachers keep children for about a year. And then they go to the next teacher. But what I'm saying is that it's so important that you two have a connection and feel good, and talk about ways that you can continue to early educate your child in the classroom, and the teacher can offer you ideas but make your teacher feel special. I always have my grandsons, when they get a new teacher, take them an apple.
That's nice.
Just take them an apple. An apple doesn't cost very much. To say thank you, teacher. Or sit your child down and have them encourage your child to make a card for your teacher.
Yeah.
And the teacher would get so much out of that, and she would even do better as your child's teacher.
And we want to love on our teachers. And like you said, this is the other person that's with your child like 8-9 hours a day.
Absolutely.
And so you want them to have good mental health. You want them to have self-care. And we want to encourage that.
Yeah.
And by bringing an apple.
Well, I remember you used to always buy really good gifts for your teachers.
Yeah, because I'm like, I want y'all to know we love you. And,
I remember that.
You know, I remember parents would bring donuts and, you know, just say we appreciate you. So for Mother's Day, Jeremiah took a gift to his teacher.
Okay.
He made her a Mother's Day card. She's a mother. She's his mother, pretty much. And I wanted her to feel like Happy Mother's Day. We're thinking about you. And she's like, you know, Jeremiah, you're forever in my heart for that.
Absolutely.
Just to think about if somebody thinks about you. You know, it makes you feel good and want to do better, especially your spouse. But we ain't gonna talk about that.
And here's a way you can measure your outcomes by doing something every month, like Mother's Day, like Ivy spoke of. Their birthday, find out when their birthday is, the first day of school, and then you can say today is Green Day, and I just wanted to bring you a green vegetable. It's the thought that counts.
Really nice.
It's the thought. It's not big gifts. It's the small things that we do for others that make our day, and that teacher will definitely give your child the best care.
That's very important.
Vital.
So, is there anything that you may want to share or say to families, educators, everybody who are dealing with children from birth to 5?
You know what? Kids are your best teachers. Kids are your best teachers. They teach you what they need.
Yes.
And our job as adults and parents and grandparents is to supply our children needs. Not always they want. I want this. I want that. You don't have to give them that, but you do have to meet their basic needs.
Yeah.
And so I just want to share, love your child, play with your child. Playing is with a purpose. Play with your child, love your child, talk to your child, exchange information, and don't do baby talk. Talk to them so that they can have good language skills because you're preparing them to go out into the world and to be successful. And the only way they could be successful, you don't have to have an education of a doctor's degree. I always tell parents, you don't even have to have a degree in early child education. What you just have to do is be willing to give of yourself to your child. Not every minute of the day, because you have to put it in perspective. If you're married, you have to be able to be with your husband or your boyfriend or your partner. But the most important thing is spend quality time. Again, make that lesson plan. And when your child lay his head down to sleep, and if he prays to the Lord his soul to keep, he would know that my mommy loved me and my daddy loved me. And I want to speak out to the men as well. And I see a lot of good dads and fathers. I want you to know you can play with your child. It's okay.
And I thank you so much for sharing that. And I take everything that you say to heart because I see how the technology, I watch my kids. And I see how it affects them. I know when something is not right, and I'm watching them, but I take that information that you're giving, and I'm going to take that information of making a lesson plan and not just wake up and be like, whatever is going to happen and let chaos happen, and taking my time. Just taking my time being
Well, Ivy, think about it. If you were going to go buy a new car, you just go in and say, I'm buying a car. You're going to think about it. You're going to pray about it. You're going to plan for the day.
Yeah.
Anything that you do, when you go buy furniture for your home, you say, okay, what do we really need? What is my favorite color? That's the same thing you're going to do with children.
And I don't think we look at children like that. You know what I mean? I don't think we really look at kids, how cool they are.
They're really
and
awesome.
How amazing what they can do and how amazing they can do it, and giving them that information. I didn't know Jeremiah knew what fire was.
Oh yeah.
You know, and so talking to them, talking it through and helping them problem solve. Yeah. And it could be a fun task. It doesn't have to be a chore, right? It could be a fun task.
Learning through play.
Just
That's
playing.
how they learn.
Jordan, I'm going this weekend to buy him a baby doll.
Okay.
Because he loves his baby sister.
He does.
Too much, but he loves her, and he wants to help me so much that in that school, his teacher tells me all he does is push the baby in a stroller and feed the baby. Now, I can have a pediatrician. I can nurture that, or I can say, we don't play with dolls. Boys is not playing with dolls, and whatever the case may be. But that's what he's showing me that he needs right now. He's showing me,
learning
teaching
how
me
to
how to
nurture.
be gentle.
Yeah, nurturing you, because he's watching you being nurturing, and he said, I trust you.
Yeah.
That you teaching me something that I need to know. So that's why he's holding that baby doll.
But then when he's being nurturing, so you say that I trust you, but then when he's doing it, I'm like, stop. So it doesn't I'm not making any kind of sense. Sometimes we don't make sense to our kids.
Yeah.
I'm nurturing, loving this baby, kissing her, loving her, taking her a bath, putting her to sleep. And then when he doesn't, I'm like, leave her alone. Stop. Don't touch her. Don't mess with her.
And those are all double negatives. So
it doesn't make no sense.
It doesn't. So you're doing it. So what he's saying, you're his role model. So what you should be saying is to say, stop. So, I can see that you want to help mommy nurture the baby or care for the baby. And so then, like, I love your idea of going out to get a baby doll in a little bottle. And then when he see you, he will use his own problem solving skill. Must be time for me to take care of my baby. Yeah. And as a young man, as you growing, taking a young child to grow up to be a man, and we need more nurturing dads and fathers. So that's really what you're teaching your child.
And before we go, please share with us about your book.
So I'm writing this book. It's called In the Mind of a Child, because sometimes I think I can read their brain. And I've had some kids say, you don't know what's in my mind. And then I'm able to tell them what's in their mind, because I really do. I've been around kids for almost 40 years, and I've studied the behaviors of a child. And I've done a lot of extensive research and early training with kids. So my book is really about how your child think about you. Yeah. How they think about you when you are ignoring them, what they're really saying. When you bring a new friend into their environment and you haven't taken the time to communicate with them, what they really think about you. And then when we see those behaviors, maybe years later, you wonder what happened. I always say that they grow up to be a mean ager. And you're like, well, why are you so mean? My child is so hateful to me. Well, what did you do with her or him when they were little? Did you ignore them? I remember my most favorite story, and the reason why I began to write this book is that I had a preschooler, and I was at a home visit, and the dad came in, the child was sitting there while mom and dad was doing something else, and the dad walked into the living room and turned the TV. And the child looked at him, Dad, I was watching that. But the dad didn't see him as a human being, I felt. He just saw him as, you'll get over it. But the child didn't get over it, because he began to have behavior problems as he began to be an adult. So my most important thing is talk to him and say, are you done watching this? Or I'm going to give you 10 more minutes.
Respect. Yeah.
Yes, and that's what he was teaching him. So guess what the child was doing in preschool class? Walking over into the block area, knocking everybody's blocks down, and people would say, Miss Marva, because the dad did the same thing to him. They are watching you. Their eyes is on you. And that's what my book is about. How to engage, how to play, how to hang up their artwork instead of throwing it in the garbage right away, how to hang it up in their home, how to connect with your child, how to feed your child healthy foods, how to go to the grocery store and not make it a disaster, but make it a learning opportunity, and teach your child about new juicy words, new foods that they've never tried before. So that's what my book is all about. Hopefully in another 3 or 4 months, I would have it out, In the Mind of a Child. And
I will remind you guys when it comes out, I will show it, share it, and send you a copy if you need it. So we thank you. We thank you, Miss Marva. If you have any questions for Miss Marva, her email is posted below. Or you want to just reach out and say, hey, I have a child with behavior, or hey, I need a little bit of assistance or a little service, or what do you think, or just can you listen? Miss Marva's willing to help.
Oh, yes. I love this job. I love sharing. And it's never too late to start. It's never too late. And it doesn't matter, again, if you don't have a high school diploma, you can still teach your child.
And we talk about birth to 5, but as they get older, It's not that they can't learn right, it's just harder to undo some of the things that they have learned.
Yeah, it will be a lot harder. So it's better to start when they're in your, as soon as you find out you're pregnant, talking to your baby, singing to your baby, and reading to your baby.
We thank you so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you all next week.